Story 1. The real answer is to stay away from children. My fiancée started working at a school, and I have never gotten sick this many times in 1 year. Story 2. Maintain a regular sleep pattern of 8 hours or more and eat a healthy, clean diet. If you look after your body, it will look after you. Story 3. I do not know. I have not gotten sick that often since coronavirus disease 2019 began. I keep my distance, wash my hands frequently, and get plenty of sleep. Story 4. I work in healthcare. I am an emergency medical technician, so I am in constant close contact with sick people. My immune system is like steel at this point. I have not been sick in 2 years. Story 5. I just ignore the symptoms until my body gives up trying. Story 6. Eat clean, minimally processed foods. Also go for walks and go to the gym. Story 7. I am pretty sure it is just luck. I am not very fit and I do not eat a very healthy diet, but I have not taken a day off work because of illness in over 15 years. Story 8. I no longer have health insurance, so I have decided to avoid getting sick. Story 9. Good dental hygiene and washing your hands go a long way in life. Story 10. Genetics plays a big part, I think. I don't do or eat anything exceptional, but I've only been sick a handful of times in my whole life. My longest stretch was 10 years between simple colds. Immune systems vary from person to person, even at a basic level. That's a factor. Story 11. I am just as shocked as you are. Everyone says stay away from children. I have a son in elementary school. When other children at school are sick, my wife gets sick. My son and I are fine. Story 12. I isolate during flu season. I avoid going out and opt for delivery when possible. If someone is coughing or sneezing, I avoid them. My family reports any illness around the holidays. If someone is sick or has been sick within the past week, I do not attend gatherings such as birthdays, Thanksgiving, or Christmas. I stay home. If my wife becomes sick, she isolates in the master bedroom. I wear a mask when bringing her food. I have a small cart for those situations with a 10-foot terry cloth rope attached to the handle. I place items on the cart, pass her the rope, and leave the room. She pulls the cart toward her. When she is done, she lets me know. I enter the room. She returns the rope. I move the cart out of the way, leave the room, then use hand sanitizer and wash my hands thoroughly. I wash my hands frequently throughout the day. I do not eat questionable-looking food. I inspect restaurant kitchens and bathrooms as well as I can from the cash register area. I do not keep leftovers for more than a day. I do not have chronic pain, allergies, or other health problems. I do not drink alcohol, smoke, or participate in risky sports. I refuse to get in a car with someone who drives dangerously. I refuse child clients before I switch to telehealth only. I have not been sick, not even a cold, since 2009. I vomited once when I was 6 or 7 due to rotavirus. Story 13. Look after your gut microbiome. Your gut is directly linked to your immune system. Eat superfoods and get enough fiber, vitamins, protein, and other nutrients. A healthy gut leads to a stronger immune system. Story 14. I do not claim I never get sick, but I think I have been sick maybe 2 or 3 times in the last 30 years. I do not eat the best, but I do not have the worst diet either. I think part of it is genetics. My maternal grandmother rarely got sick, and so did my father. I remember working at a theme park in college and living in the dorms. Everyone else would be sick around me, and people would come to work sick. While everyone else caught whatever was going around, I would maybe get the sniffles. I do not have children of my own, so perhaps that has something to do with it, but I do spend time around nieces and nephews. One thing that might help is that I drink a lot of water. Even when I was addicted to soda, drinking about 3 or 4 cans a day, I rarely got sick. I have since given it up and now drink mostly water. Story 15. Only leave the house for food or drink, avoid public places, and do not have visitors, including children or friends. Story 16. I do not care about germs at all. I touch anything. I bite my nails, which is the grossest thing someone can do. I eat and drink after people. I am always building my immune system. I get sick maybe once every 2 to 3 years. Story 17. I see the same question asked every day this week. Story 18. Why don't we take a break from reposting yesterday's questions? Story 19. Staying away from gross people and washing my hands constantly. Story 20. I was raised in a family that grew much of its own food and largely avoided sugar, especially soda and boxed foods. Story 21. I get plenty of sunlight every day, stay active throughout the day, eat a generally healthy diet, and take a vitamin, prebiotic, probiotic, and protein powder each morning. Story 22. Do not shower or bathe too often with soap or shampoo. Just wash off sweat. Do not be afraid to get dirty in the garden, forest, or park. Get your tetanus vaccination up to date. This will help keep the bacteria on your skin healthy and act as a first layer of protection against infection. Over time, it may even reduce the intensity of your sweat. Laughing out loud. Story 23. Wear masks, wash hands, and use air purifiers in shared spaces. I try not to touch my face or food unless I have just washed my hands. Story 24. Get plenty of sleep. Go outside often and play in nature. Roll in leaves or dirt. Get scratches and chew on a stick if the impulse arises. Get dirty. Story 25. I bite my nails frequently. Who knows what kinds of bacteria I may have put in my mouth. Story 26. I picked my ancestors well, according to my doctor. I never get sick. My son was sick for the first time for 2 days at age 18. I think our people from a cold climate only survive to reproduce if we are hardy. We have no allergies and take no prescription medications. We can easily digest pig iron. We are hardcore carnivores. Story 27. I do not leave my house, have many friends, or have sex, and I eat a relatively varied diet. Story 28. Wash your hands thoroughly and avoid touching your face in public. Story 29. I started vitamin D and magnesium bisglycinate. I feel much better and more able to fight off illness. Story 30. I work alone and rarely come into contact with other people. Story 31. Do not eat processed sugar and avoid processed food if you can. Sugar alternatives such as aspartame are even worse. Avoid them and you will be much less likely to become sick. Story 32. I ate a healthy diet, drank plenty of water, and played outside a lot as a child. My parents did not rush me to the doctor for antibiotics or other prescriptions at the first sign of illness. It is probably genetics too. My family is pretty hardy. Story 33. I have always been fortunate not to get sick. I spent much of my childhood playing outside in the mud and eating out-of-date foods. Could be that or just luck. Who knows? Story 34. Stay consistent with sleep. It is the real immune booster. Story 35. I worked in nurseries and primary schools for almost 15 years. I completed a nursery apprenticeship during which I was ill constantly for the first 6 months, but after that very rarely. Since completing the apprenticeship, I have been off work sick 3 times in 15 years, and one of those illnesses was coronavirus disease 2019. My husband insists that exposing my immune system to germ-infested children has made me indestructible. I do not think I am indestructible. I do think I had a decent immune system to begin with, and exposing myself to the nasty things children spread has made it stronger. Story 36. I have used marijuana every day since I was a teenager. I am a 61-year-old female, and I only get sick about once a year. Story 37. Honestly, genetics. My spouse gets sick often and is a complete germaphobe. He avoids situations that might make him ill, such as large crowds, but still gets sick about 3 times a year. I don't do any of that, and I had a cold for 3 days in 2022. Story 38. I am a nanny and rarely get sick from the children, surprisingly. I also have not had coronavirus disease 2019 yet. My parents always say I have a strong immune system because they took me to a baseball game when I was 1 week old. Story 39. Wash your hands regularly, including after being around children, but avoid overwashing. Wash your produce. This is an important part of healthy eating. Wear a mask during cold and influenza season when using public transportation. Maintain a balanced diet, get adequate sleep and fluids, and engage in some physical activity. Story 40. Sleep well. Eat meat and do some exercise. I studied at a country school, so that may have helped me a lot. Story 41. A healthy diet, vitamins, restorative sleep, and a deep, burning rage of 1,000 suns. Story 42. Genetics. I have children in school and I am around kids all the time. I am clean but not a germaphobe. I was a high school teacher for many years. I am exposed to viruses frequently, but they do not affect me, and my children do not get sick either. Story 43. Lick things you shouldn't. My immune system has failed only a handful of times over 25 years. I had strep throat a couple of times as a child, mild food poisoning twice about 15 years apart, a cold every 2 to 3 years, coronavirus disease 2019 once or twice, and Lyme disease once. It may sound like a lot, but over that period I can go 1 or 2 years without any discernible illness. Story 44. I have rarely gotten sick since the coronavirus disease 2019 pandemic, and I think it is because I have taken hand washing to an entirely different level. Story 45. I do not know. I am 32 years old and female. I have children. The last time I remember being sick was when I was 16. I had a fever for only 1 day, and I have not been sick since. I do not eat healthy foods, I do not exercise, and I do not take vitamins. Story 46. I used to get sick maybe 1 to 3 times a year. Since I started working with children and spending time with my nephews, I have been getting sick more often. Story 47. Oh, God. The flood of woo-woo bullshit this will unleash. Story 48. I have 3 siblings, each with 3 to 4 children. They get sick slightly more often than typical. My family, which includes my wife and our 3 children ages 10 to 15, almost never gets sick. We spend a lot of time with my siblings and their children. Our kids attend public school and have many activities. I am not sure whether this is luck or something we are doing differently. Story 49. I have rheumatoid arthritis and I somehow never get sick even while taking immunosuppressive drugs. Story 50. I started taking generic Flonase every day. I have been sick only once in about 3 years, and it lasted only a few days. Story 51. Exercise. 2 vigorous workouts per week, for example weight training, plus some form of cardiovascular exercise on other days. Cut back on red meat, unhealthy fats, sugar, and alcohol. Follow a plant-forward, healthy diet. Get adequate sleep. Reduce stress with practices such as yoga. Keep up with regular doctor visits, including eye doctor, dermatologist, dentist, an annual general physical, and an obstetrician-gynecologist if applicable. Keep vaccinations up to date. Wear a mask in crowded indoor places or when traveling. However, this can be ineffective if you have young children or work with them. When our son was in preschool, I was sick for months every year. There was little I could do. Story 52. Clean my home every day or have it cleaned. Wash my hands about 100 times a day. Clean my phone every day. I do not send my child to daycare. Laughing out loud. Story 53. As a baby, I was allowed to crawl around outside. I even have a video of me playing in a horse's feed trough. As a child, I spent 80% of my time outdoors, barefoot, with dogs and other animals in dusty barns. I do not get sick and I do not have allergies. I believe the problem with children today is that they are shielded from germs and allergens when they need exposure at a young age to build immunity. I cannot remember the last time I was sick. It has been at least 15 years. Story 54. As a baby, I was allowed to crawl around outside. I even have a video of me playing in a horse's feed trough. As a child, I spent 80% of my time outside, barefoot, with dogs and other animals in dusty barns. I do not get sick and I do not have allergies. I believe the problem with children today is that they are shielded from germs and allergens when they need to be exposed to them early to build immunity. I cannot remember the last time I got sick. It has been at least 15 years. Story 55. It was probably from being exposed to so much as a child. We lived outside, got dirty, ingested things we should not have, and built immunity. Add childhood vaccines to that, and the result was a healthy immune response. Also use hand sanitizer when caring for children. Story 56. Pick the mold off the food, throw it in the bin, and eat the rest. Story 57. Personal hygiene means taking care of yourself. If you neglect it, your health can literally slap you in the face when your skin becomes dry, oily, or patchy. By that time, fixing the problem can be costly. Story 58. They have a strong innate immune system. The downside is that they may have a weaker acquired immune system from rarely getting sick. Also get an influenza vaccination. Story 59. Watch what you eat, exercise, and consume plenty of omega-3s. I started doing this about 2 years ago and have not been sick since. Story 60. I am just living my life without irrational fear. I don't wash my hands often and touch my face, lips, and eyes constantly. If I drop food on the ground, at most I'll rub the pebbles off and dive right in. Even when everyone around me is sick as a dog, I do nothing differently. I am certain my immune system is like a well-trained military force, ready for anything. Story 61. I always wash my hands before eating. When I use a public restroom, I avoid touching the door handle by using a paper towel. Old-fashioned hand washing has served me well. Story 62. Eat right, exercise, and most importantly genetics, nutrophilia. Story 63. I stay up to date with my vaccinations and wear a mask when people around me are sick. Story 64. Avoid kids. Get my vaccinations on time every year. Take vitamins because my diet is pretty restrictive, and get weekly infusions of adrenochrome. Story 65. Honestly, I think it's because I forget to wash my water bottle, which has given me a strong immune system. Laughing out loud. I try not to touch door handles in public, and I wash my hands when I get home. Story 66. I also cared for children, specifically those aged 0 to 6 years. When I worked at the nursery school, I became ill once a month. Not even in my previous job at the hospital did I get sick that often. After I stopped working there, everything went back to normal. In any case, I think genetics also matters a lot. Story 67. Work from home. Do not have children. Wash my hands thoroughly. Story 68. Honestly, I was sick for years. I started taking several vitamins and supplements, and they have improved my health. Shaklee vitamins are the best. Story 69. I don't know. I worked with children every day from 2018 to 2020. The last time I was really sick was around 2015. I never get sick. Sometimes it's almost creepy, and nobody believes me when I tell them. Story 70. I have no idea. I have probably had the odd cold and one bout of norovirus in the past 15 years, and I am nothing special. I do not really exercise. I am a pescatarian. I drink 30 to 50 units of alcohol a week. I work from home. It is probably just good genes. Story 71. I don't know what the secret is. I generally get sick every couple of years. My wife gets sick a lot. My kids do their part. The last time I got sick, my wife bought a new dog that no one wanted. I can't get sick again. God knows what I'll find living in the house when I recover. Story 72. I will eat cooked chicken strips left in the air fryer overnight. I have been doing this for years. When my friend who gets sick often found out, she was disgusted. I am pretty sure this is why she gets sick and I do not. It may have helped build my immune system. Story 73. Vaccines. Only go near the general public when absolutely necessary. Get in and out expeditiously. Stay hydrated and avoid close contact with other people. Story 74. I get sick far less often when I work from home and avoid the office. In fact, the only time I do get sick is when I have to present at the office. Story 75. Just be healthy. Get a good diet and sleep schedule and you should be okay. Story 76. Never put your hands in your mouth or near your eyes. Drink plenty of water. Avoid alcohol and smoking. Take a multivitamin daily to prevent mineral deficiencies. Blood tests confirm deficiencies, although my diet is uncertain. Story 77. The kids thing is real. I caught norovirus once or twice a year in elementary school and not at all in high school. I went more than a decade without getting it, then caught it while I was dating a school teacher who had 3 young children. Fun side fact. She did not get sick at all. She had been around kids so much for so long that those viruses rarely bothered her anymore. Story 78. Wash your hands when coming in from outside, before eating, and after using the bathroom. Do not share glasses or eating utensils. Story 79. Wash your hands. Bring hand sanitizer with you. It makes a difference. Story 80. I wear a mask when I go out. I work from home. I spend most of my day around animals rather than people. I wash my hands constantly. Story 81. I was never sick when I was younger and active. Now that I barely do anything physical, I seem to get sick at least twice a year. Story 82. Well, damn. I have to quit my job. This is the 7th time I have been sick this year. I work with children. Story 83. I wash my hands regularly and wear a mask in closed, crowded areas such as elevators, Ubers, and public transportation. I have not gotten sick since I started doing this. Story 84. My tinfoil hat theory is that I have bitten my nails since I was a very young child. Story 85. Good hygiene. I rarely get sick. I wash my hands before eating, after using the bathroom, before handling food, and whenever they feel dirty. I wash fruits and vegetables before preparing them. I follow ServSafe training. Story 86. I eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, wash my hands frequently throughout the day, and avoid close contact with children. I have never had influenza, and so far I have managed to avoid getting coronavirus disease 2019. Sometimes I worry my luck is going to run out, though. Story 87. I played outside as a child and often became very dirty. I was allowed to play with other children, unlike many children today who spend all day on screens. I also received all my vaccines. Story 88. I was an elementary school teacher for 35 years. Usually, 25 to 30 students were sick at one time or another. I washed my hands a lot, ate fruit, exercised 5 to 6 times a week, and when we had a sauna, I used it almost every day. I rarely got sick. Story 89. I am both human immunodeficiency virus positive and have a substance abuse issue. Recently, I was laid low for 48 hours by a vicious bug. It is the first period of illness I have had since New Year's Eve 2003. I have not had coronavirus disease 2019. I do not deserve such rude health. Story 90. Stay away from kids. I used to brag that my immune system was strong and that sometimes years would go by without the flu or even a runny nose. Fast forward to my daughter starting kindergarten at age 2.5. I have had the worst year of my life. I was sick on and off every week. I would have flu-like symptoms for a week, feel more or less okay for a week, then the symptoms with slight variations would return. There were intense weeks when I thought I was dying. I contracted COVID-19 and gastroenteritis at the same time. I had fever, severe coughing from COVID-19, and simultaneous vomiting and diarrhea. I still had to be a responsible adult, care for the toddler, and feed myself because my partner was going through the same illness. So my answer is, stay away from kids. Story 91. From October through February, I tend to get sick with the flu or a cold. I take vitamin C and zinc weekly during those months. Story 92. If you were sick a lot as a child but not with a chronic condition, for example, if you frequently spent hours in the hospital, you almost never get sick again as an adult. Story 93. Haha. I have a friend who gets sick easily. He is very careful. I do whatever I want, like drinking and eating cold things. I usually get sick afterward, but I'm okay without taking medicine. Story 94. Might unfortunately just be genetics. I'm also a slob, so I probably introduce foreign bacteria into my system. I take a vitamin pill every now and then, but it is probably genetics. If you do not have children, consider having children with someone of a different race. That may reduce the issue for your child. Story 95. Drinking from the garden hose as a kid, climbing trees, running barefoot, not guzzling sweets and junk food. I could go on, but you get the picture. A few years ago, I took my adult daughter on a trip with me to India. She had been in Germany for a year at that time. When we arrived in India, I noticed that she had a large bag of wet wipes which she used for everything, including wiping the rim of her coffee cup. 24 hours later, she fell ill with deli belly. She had a fever, cramps, and was frequently on the toilet. I drank the local water and licked my finger to count the filthy rupees. What I'm saying is that we have compromised our immune systems by constantly monitoring what is and is not good for us. My daughter is frequently ill with colds and other infections, whereas if I get the flu, it is only once every 5 years. I don't eat processed food. I limit my occasional takeout to salads or seafood. I don't drink milk, but I love Greek yogurt. I take vitamins and I exercise by cycling most days. I love wine and whiskey, and I am selective about whom I associate with. I think genes come into play, but mostly it is about honoring and enjoying our bodies. Story 96. I was blessed with a very strong immune system. I eat clean 90% of the time, drink plenty of mineral water, and though this may be unpopular on Reddit, I avoid taking medicine. Story 97. Taking daily vitamins, washing my hands even at home, and exercising regularly. Story 98. I asked my wife. In the last 7 years, I have been ill about 3 or 4 times. I do not get colds or the flu. I am not the healthiest person. I do not sleep well, I do not eat well, and I drink heavily, so maybe I am just lucky. Story 99. Have your immune system checked if you are chronically ill. I was getting sick and needing antibiotics about 10 to 15 times a year. After seeing about 4 primary care doctors and 5 specialists, an ear, nose, and throat specialist and an immunologist finally helped me. I literally caught something anytime I left the house. I have chronic sinusitis and specific antibody deficiency, an immune disorder in which the body has normal immunoglobulin levels but cannot produce sufficient specific antibodies to fight certain infections, particularly those caused by polysaccharide encapsulated bacteria. This makes me much more likely to get frequent sinus infections and other illnesses. I would never have known if I had not seen the immunologist, because no one else suggested testing for an immune disorder. I am waiting to see what treatment she recommends in combination with sinus surgery. Story 100. I have children who are rarely sick. They attend public kindergarten, and about once a year they bring home a stomach bug that lasts a few days. Other than that, nothing. Story 101. I don't have a clue. I have children, and I work with pesticides and in other people's houses every day and so on. Part of me thinks it's just the luck of the draw. If I ever get sick, it's at most 1 day and then I'm back to normal. Everyone around me gets sick and I don't. I also don't take any medicine when I'm sick and never have. I think the body knows how to recover. Ultimately, some people simply get sicker than others. Story 102. I spent 6 months in India and got sick a lot during that time. Since then, I rarely get sick, at most 1 day per year on average. I also fast 12 to 16 hours 5 to 6 days a week. I do not know if any of this affects my health. Story 103. 1. Wash hands frequently, especially before eating. 2. Eat a healthy diet, exercise regularly, and get plenty of sunshine for vitamin D. 3. Limit time spent in indoor places where large groups gather. 4. Avoid close contact with children. Story 104. I wash my hands several times a day. I wear a mask on public transit. I avoid indoor socializing but meet friends in courtyards or parks. I shower and change into pajamas as soon as I get home from work instead of waiting until bedtime. I also gargle with Listerine before I sleep. I managed not to get sick last year even though I work with children. Story 105. Part of it is genetics, but some is being a germaphobe. For example, I never touch elevator buttons with my hands. If I approach double doors, I always grab the left handle because fewer people use it, and I grab it from the bottom rather than near the top. I keep hand sanitizer in my car door and wash my hands every time I get in. Mostly genetics, but the genuine fear helps. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.